We're talking about satchetisation. I know the word maybe sounds, is that an English word? Well, it's a word, we're using it, and that's what we're going to talk about on the program this morning. Now, what does satchetisation mean? It refers to the widespread practice of selling goods and services in small, affordable units, usually sachets or small parts. In Nigeria, this has become common across sectors from food, beverages, alcohol, cooking oil, detergents, and shampoos to even financial services. We have micro insurance, micro data bundles, you know, that 150 naira for something MB and all that. Now, it reflects a coping mechanism by firms and consumers in response to inflation, shrinking disposable income, and weakened purchasing power. Impact on the Nigerian economy. There was a positive effect, consumer access and inclusion. Allows low-income earners to afford essential goods and services. Boost in sales volume. Companies sell more units despite reduced packaging sizes. Supports informal economy. Street vendors, kiosks, and small retailers thrive on sachet products. Financial innovation. Inspired micro products like sachet-sized health insurance, mobile data bundles, and pay-as-you-go solar power systems. Now, what could be the negative effects of sachetization? Erosion of consumer welfare. Consumers often pay more per unit in sachet form than when buying in bulk. Strain on industrial growth. Companies focus on survival strategies, downsizing products instead of scaling production or innovation. Environmental concerns. Nigeria faces rising plastic pollution as millions of sachets end up in landfills, drains, and waterways daily. Signal of economic distress. Sachetization is often a symptom of poverty, inflation, and weak consumer spending power, not an indicator of sustainable growth. Now, policy challenge. Harder for government to regulate product standards and taxation across fragmented sachet-based distribution networks. Now, this, started years ago. If you remember in my earlier introduction before the break, a company, very well-known company, started actually doing it for a dairy product. And you know, then people said, how could you do that? But hey, they did it, they hit the market, they became big. And then the other companies decided to go and toe the line of having dairy products in small sachets. And that's how it came about, small sachets really for foods and all that. But I'm going to be joined by via phone call Dr. Agoso Bamaiyi. He's a development strategist. He's going to be talking to us and helping us understand, is this really a great thing? Because away from just dairy products, now we have even rice in sachet forms, even drinking gari in sachet forms, even engine oils in sachet forms. So Dr. Agoso Bamaiyi is joining us from Newman in Adamawa State. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Okay, so you've heard our intro. What's your take? Is this really a great thing for the Nigerian economy?
Well, your intro there covered it completely, touched on all the issues involved, the pros and the cons. To answer your question, let me go back a little bit to when I was born and when we were growing up. I was born into a middle-class family, actually. Both my parents were teachers. At a point, my father left teaching and joined the immigration service. So this means that they could afford to feed us well, clothe us well, and also, give us good shelter, even though we were not rich, but we also were not poor. I remember my mother's kitchen, on one side you would have stacks of yam. You had bags of rice, semovita. Everything was in packs. The dining table had, the Bonvita, Nilo, etc. Everything was in packs when we were growing up. The economy was good. But my father's salary and that of my mother was not much, but the naira was stronger than the dollar. And so we could afford the basic necessities of life in packs, And but with time, the dollar became stronger and the naira kept getting stronger and stronger. The economic hardships increased. The difficulties for the ordinary people also increased. And therefore, the majority of people could not afford the basic things of life and also the good things of life, a family would want to give their family not just pap made of ground sorghum, but probably they want to give them cowbell or any of those things. And but they could not afford buying it in the big containers, the packs, stacking it up. And therefore, with time, it became necessary to put these things in small sachets, pure water. And like you said, nowadays you have everything: engine oil, alcohol, sugar, salt, various soup ingredients and condiments and spices, etc., etc. So, if you are looking at the economy and the difficulty ordinary Nigerians are having to afford the good things of life as well as the basic necessities of life, then the sachet economy is actually good. It means that the ordinary Nigerians can afford the good things of life. Let me put it in quotes: the good things of life that the rich people can afford.
Okay.
The rich people can afford to go to the supermarket and buy these things in bulk. The ordinary people can buy them on a daily basis,
Okay.
from the sachet. So it's good for Nigerians, generally speaking.
Okay. Okay, so looking at it from the aspect of the Nigerian, the average Nigerian, it's a good thing because now they can afford to eat the same thing the Joneses and the Johnsons are eating. But away from
That's right.
Away from that, for the people, the economy in itself, what does this really mean? Because if we're now having to put everything in smaller sachets so that you can, because of course for the company, they're trying to reach more people and trying to make more money. So that's why they're doing what they're doing. But what does that tell for us as our economy? Because one of the things we see here that it says is that one of the negative effects of Satchetisation, according to the stories, is a signal of economic distress. Do you actually think that it is a signal of economic distress now that we have mostly everything in sachet forms or sachet-sized packages?
Yeah, indeed, it's a signal of economic stress. But for me, it also signals that it's a survival strategy. Our economy is going through stress, but the economy has a strategy to survive. Because the truth of the matter is, it's helping these companies to stay in business, as well as help the families to also afford the things that they think are the good things of life. It also helps the families to control the portions of consumption. I remember how as children we used to play with these things, overeat and the rest of it. Families cannot afford that now, and so one way to control it is to have everybody have a sachet of the malt drink, in front of you. Once you take that's it for the day until tomorrow. Now, when I say it's a survival strategy, what I mean is that it continues to move the country from day to day, even though the economy is in stress, yet the people can find what they need and survive. It allows the government to continue to work on the economy, and hopefully not long from now we will get back to the point where our naira is strong, the average worker is paid well, and so average families across the country can move on to the middle class and enjoy a better standard of living. But for now, it is really helping the economy to survive and move from day to day, even though it's an indication that the economy is in stress.
Okay. Now, you said something and you said hopefully. So I'm going to take it in a reverse way. Are you saying or implying that when the economy stabilizes and gets better, that Satchetisation might see a decline?
Yeah, it will. It will see a decline. These sachets that we see all around, it's a reflection of the inability of the average Nigerian to afford those basic necessities in bulk. But in life, it works better if you have these things in store. You have them in bulk, So you can sleep without stress, without any wahala, knowing that in the morning you can have good breakfast, you can have good lunch, and you can have a supper without any wahala. And nobody wants to go to sleep wondering how tomorrow is going to be. And nobody wants that, and it's not really good. But the sachets afford Nigerians to wake up in the morning. There are a lot of people, especially in poor, in the rural areas, that have to go to the market first before they get small money and afford provisions and send them home for their family to feed on. In other words, they literally live hand to mouth. And this sachet economy affords them the ability to do that. But if the economy improves and things are working for everybody, especially the average family, then of course people would like to buy these things and not have to sweat every day, on how you are going to get what to eat. So as the economy gets better and improves, our money gets stronger, the naira gets stronger, then of course the sachet economy will begin to decline. It will decline naturally, just like it grew naturally.
Okay. Now, let's look at another thing, another sort of negative, not sort of, actually a real negative effect of Satchetisation, which is now we have too much waste due to this effect. Yes, it has its pros, but there's a con to it. What do you think the government can do to enable both the consumers and the manufacturers in a way to see that we reduce the waste, this negative impact of Satchetisation on, of course, the Nigerian economy and the Nigerian environmental ecosystem?
Now, that's a major concern for me, and it is for the government, as it should be, because I'm one of those who, I talk to students, I talk to young people, to families about our environment, how we can preserve it, and how that the environment is like a house in which we live. If we do not take care of it, it's not going to be there to take care of the future generations. So I'm worried about the waste produced by sachet. It's everywhere. As you move around in our cities and towns and in our villages, you see it everywhere. And the majority of them are made of these single-use plastics, and they are not biodegradable. It takes a very long time, 350, sometimes even longer than that, for it to degrade. And therefore, it is a threat, a challenge to our environment. And what can be done is perhaps the government should work on a waste disposal system. In my local government, for instance, and in a number of local governments in my state and across the state, I have been campaigning for proper waste disposal system in our cities and in our towns. It would surprise you that a whole local government headquarters does not have a dump site. There's no dump site, and so people are dumping waste anywhere and anyhow. In other words, if the government does not develop a waste management system, a workable waste management system that goes down to local government and town levels to manage waste, not just waste from the sachet economy, but waste generally, we're going to have, as indeed we're having already, lots of challenges with our environment. You have drains filled up with waste, and as a result, you have flooding in communities where normally you shouldn't have flooding and all that. So the government at the federal level, state and local government levels should, as a priority, work towards developing a standard workable waste management system. And then, of course, we should look at alternatives away from plastic materials that we can package these sachets in. We have established that the sachet economy is necessary for the survival of the average families in Nigeria. But something needs to be done at the government as well as at the company level, these companies that produce these products, so that we can have these products packaged in sachet that is biodegradable, that if we bury, can turn to soil within a short time. Okay. It's very important that they look to that. So they don't just look at their profits, but they also look at how they can manage the environment.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, Dr. Agoso Bamaiyi. That's a word out there for companies maybe put it as part of their corporate social responsibility to see that their products are good for the environment as well. Thank you for your insights on the topic this morning. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
That's the much we have for you on Business Daily this morning. And we'll be discussing satchetisation. Is it a great thing for the Nigerian economy? What does it mean for us? And Dr. Agoso Bamaiyi has been showing his insights. He says it's a great thing. However, it still indicates a problem with the economy. And hopefully, when the Naira gets better, when the economy gets better, it would see a decline. That's the much we have for you on Business Daily today. I've been your host, Chiamaka Nwafor. Same time, same place tomorrow. Bye for now.